Okay, well, you've been volunteered to answer that question by Jeff, who's decided your answer.
The most successful leader I know. So I
We had a little preliminary. Look, I think this is humongously important, and the more I think you see examples of that, whether it's on the corporate side or the local side or on the national politics side, you got to be able to articulate a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of vision, and it can absolutely be magical. And I think we see this very clearly now in kind of, in the sense of local economies and place. But I think this is like a huge question, internationally as well. I'm German originally. I've lived in 2 countries. And when you look at the history of the European Union, what is the vision for the European Union? And I remember very clearly what it was, Maastricht Treaty and all of that. But how do we think about this now? And how do we think about in opposition to the United States or something? What's the purpose? What is it that will create, for example, a European identity? I don't think that's clear, at least not to me. And I think that's contested even to a certain extent right now. So being able to do this and being able to frame this in a coherent fashion, I think will have significant consequence for the politics, because it shapes how we're framing our world. That shapes how we're seeing it, what's right, what's wrong, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. So I think these things are enormously important from a leadership point of view everywhere where leadership matters.
Arantxa, I want to pick up on the other part of the question, which is about the accountability, the ability to innovate, but your decisions can have huge consequences. So how do you balance the two?
No, I think we are to become much more focused on results also. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not just about describing the problem. It's not just about defining what we are going to do to address it. It's also to put on the table, what have we done? And this is something that companies do very well, because at the end of the day, they have to say, we created this much wealth, this is our profit, this is new products, this is new innovation, this is how much time it has taken us to get there. Governments need to learn a little bit more, and I think they have to be more focused on producing results. At the same time, companies probably have to learn a little bit more the art of empathy. Put a little bit more heart into the profit line at the end of your annual report, right? So it's this mix that we have to get right between empathy, talking to people's emotions, talking to their desires, talking to their expectations for the future, but giving them some sort of results. That we think of Europe and we think of the Maastricht Treaty is very worrying to me. Because when I think of Europe today, I think of a sovereign continent, a continent that can write its future and not just be rocked between those new imperial powers in the world. But maybe this is an interesting moment to build this more, a European Union with a heart, with a sense of why it wants to exist. We have a great opportunity now to do that.
Okay, a quick response then.
Quick response. I think the words and the frames are so important on that. So if we just take that, right? There's one way to say, oh, we have all these problems. So or you can say, we're proud of what we've accomplished, but we're not satisfied. That already shifts the emotional response, I think, right? So we can talk about the need for change. And when people hear that, they want to be under the table and watch TV. Or you can say, well, there's all the things we want to evolve in a particular direction. So how to think about this, and I think, how to frame it is such an important component in that. And I think the way you said it, that's one way to think about it. Exactly right.
And is at the heart of that politics?
100%. I think on leadership in general, but in politics, super important. And I think we look back at so many leaders that when they were able to define that clearly, that was what made them great.
I know we're looking for solutions and positives here. I think part of it, to go back to economics, is job retraining, which I happened to study a program that took unemployed coal miners and taught them how to code apps for cell phones. And so they could do this in a local area. And talking to people was so interesting. Many of them had felt very alone, unemployed and shamed. They got together, And they made friends. One guy said, this is the first time I've really felt helped, and I'm helping, and I felt part of a community. I thought, wow. So charismatic leaders are playing to social deserts and retraining programs, government supported, and honored. It's not a remedial thing. Everyone needs to retain. And my fear is that what I saw happen in Pikeville, Kentucky, and the response to loss and shame could happen now in the wake of the revolution of AI.
Right.
What could happen to blue collars in a local place could happen to the middle class and a lot of other people globally. Let's catch it now, look at the emotional needs, and implement them through practical help in reskilling.
I mean, I was going to pick up on what you said about coding, because the amount of people who were told learn to code and did, and now they're going to be displaced because actually AI can write code,
Yeah.
and so then they have. So I think that constant retraining. Please, if you have time, tune into a session that we had at the very beginning of the forum, Tuesday morning, workers in the driver's seat, because we had the head of the International Trade Union Association saying that what you need is the profits being made from this AI revolution, some of that being taken to reskill, so that people feel there's a benefit to this AI revolution. I'm also benefiting from it. We have a question over here, if we can please get a mic.
One of the things that, got everything here. One of the things that Arlie brought up is the importance of being there. One of the big surprise stories in American politics is the mayor of New York City. And I have to tell you, I didn't think he was going to make it. There's a huge amount of big money and big corporations against him. The wealthiest individuals in New York threatening to leave against him. What did he do? He went down little precinct to little precinct, every single door. He heard people's problems. He developed an agenda, a policy agenda, which is precisely related to those problems. I guess I'm really interested in whether we learn from that case. That is a charismatic leader using very local individual connections. And by the way, as an old person here, I would say initially, an old economist here, I thought, he's making promises he can't keep. He's making promises he can't keep. He shouldn't be elected. And you know, I was wrong. And it's the younger people I know in my world who said, no, you want him elected because he will mobilize. So I think the issue of the young, I think the issue of the future, and I think the issue of young, charismatic leaders listening, I learned a lot from New York.
Yeah, great.
Arlie, what's your response to New York?
Well, I just love what Laura said. And I would add to it, there's been research on how Democrats, progressives compare to conservatives in having an open ear to what's being said. One study found that progressive Democrats were far more likely to break off contact with someone who said something they disagree with than were conservative Republicans. Interesting. And paradoxically, paradox being my favorite word here, paradoxically, conservatives are much more likely to lower the temperature, listen, and when they're sitting opposite, kind of one-to-one and having a meal together. That mattered. Didn't matter to the more cosmopolitan kind of urban folks, but it mattered to the rural folks. So you have to change your folkway. You have to go to where the people you want to understand are.
We've never been more connected than now, and we've never seen greater levels of loneliness than now. And this is a problem if you are thinking politics. So successful politicians are those that talk to people, not just simply those that do videos on TikTok and send X and send posts. They engage with people, and the future of politics has to be to go back to engaging with people, talking to people, listening to people, face to face, like we're doing today.
Yeah.
This is why these politicians are successful, because they are going back to what is necessary to build a political space, which is the agora. I mean, we're not inventing anything new, but all I can say is that technology is something that was promised to be this incredible connector, and it's turning out to be an incredible divider, separator, that we need to juggle against, in my view.
Jeff, I want to ask you, what is the future of politics? Is it that, going back to local, to the hyper-local? I mean, news is thinking about hyper-local too, because actually news organizations are really suffering because they got too distant from the people they're meant to serve.
Well, I'm not sure what the future of politics is, but I think if politicians and if our political systems are going to reconnect with their publics, it will take a word that's been mentioned in two different dimensions, a sense of purpose. Dan, I think, is absolutely correct, that politicians are successful to the extent that they express a purpose, a social purpose of their party, a social purpose of their country, what the country is about, what the goal of the government is within the country. And then they also need to be cognizant of the fact that people want a purpose to their lives as well. They don't want handouts. Oh. People in Pikesville don't want to get money. They want jobs. They want to feel that they're contributing. Okay. So a political system that works is one that gives people a sense of a national or regional purpose, and it gives people a sense of a purpose in their own lives. I think that we've lost that by the bifurcation between a segment of society that's done extraordinarily well and segments that have not done well, that feel that they've been left behind and ignored, and feel that there is no purpose in their lives, and that there is no national purpose to which they can contribute. And if we are going to move forward, we're going to have to restore both that sense of national or social purpose and the sense of a purpose in people's lives.
And on that note, we are coming to a close.